Alright, hello everybody. This is Phalos, and I am going to show you guys how to check your loot on SWG Legends for space. I get asked that question all the time. How do I know if my loot's worth anything? How do I check it? How do I see how much it's worth? And we're going to go over that really quick here with this short video, step by step from start to finish. Alright, so there's a couple of things that you're going to need to be able to do this fast and efficiently. And the first thing you need is the STC file. Alright, and I'm going to link that in this video's description. And you will also need the Keeper Toss chart. The one I like to use is by Exodus. He's a really cool guy and he made an awesome chart. We just did have the crafted parts update, and that might change what's keepable and what's tossable. So keep an eye out for that. As well as the last thing you're going to need is a guide that I made on how to use the Bazaar for space. You don't really need that one so much, but it's really helpful. If you forget something, you can go back there, and it kind of covers everything that I'm talking about today. Now, first things first, I got a whole bunch of loot here. We're going to go and we're going to get started on checking it. So the very first thing you do is you're going to load in that STC file. Now what you would have done is you would have taken that STC file and you'd have put it in your games directory. It's pretty simple. You just download it. It's a text file. You drag it or you copy it and then you paste it into the games directory. For Legends, it's going to be the one with the Legends executable. And if you have a hard time finding it, you can right click on your shortcut that you use for Legends and go to Properties. And then I think in Advanced it'll show you the file location. You go to that location and you just drop it in there, and you're basically guaranteed to have dropped it in the right place. Well, once you've dropped it in the right place, you can come back into the game and you can do slash load STC.txt. Now this STC.txt, this is very important. This is the game's this is that file name. If you've downloaded it more than once, it might have like a STC parentheses 1 or something like that, because it's like a duplicate. So make sure you post the exact name of the file right here, otherwise it's not going to load. You hit enter, and it's going to say aliases loaded from STC, which means it worked. So now we can test it out. And there's a couple of different things we can do. We can do slash, and then whatever part you have, let's say it's a weapon, W, it's a booster, B, it's a capacitor, C, and so forth. And then the reverse engineering level. Now that's very important. It's not the ship equipment level. So let's go ahead and let's just do a quick example here with one of the parts in my inventory. This one right here, we have a booster. And remember, it's not this one. Don't even look at this. Start from the bottom and go up. So reverse engineering level is 5. So the way we would look that up is we would do slash B and then 5. And that is going to be the 95th percentile if we just hit enter. Boom, it's going to bring up some stats. It says 95%. Now we can specify the percentile. So we can go B5 underscore, and for example, 95% with the current STC file goes all the way up to 102. So you could do like 96 and get the 96. You could do 99 and get the 99. There it is, 99%. You could even do all the way up to 102. Even though that doesn't make a lot of sense logically, it's there. Now, we don't even need to do this, to be honest, because it's a booster. And that's where our Keeper Toss guide comes into handy. So, the first thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that your STC is working, like we did, and then come back in here, and we're going to check that Keeper Toss guide first before we even plug in any stats for the STC. So, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to turn this Keeper Toss guide on. Boom! Right here. So if you look on this, boosters are all red. If you do the side on the booster, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the top for the RE level, and it's red. And red says never a viable part. It's always sold to the chassis dealer. So for this guide, anything that's sold to the chassis dealer, we're just going to put in my backpack. So I'm going to open up my backpack here, and we know that that booster is sold to the chassis dealer. So this one, we don't even need to check the STC file because it's automatically going to get sold to the chassis dealer. So we just take all these boosters and we're gonna junk them all because none of them are worth anything other than chassis dealer money. So that already knocks out a big chunk of what we got. Let's go back to that chart there and let's see, is there anything else that we can just immediately get rid of that easy? A lot of engines, but nothing as much as the boosters. The boosters are red all the way across. So everything else we need to kind of still look at. Droid interfaces are not going to be sold to the chassis dealer. They're going to be scanned using a droid interface scanner so that we can get convoy flight plans. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that really, really quick before we get into anything else, because I do have a couple of droid interfaces in here. So we're going to go ahead and scan those bad boys. That's my Droid interface scanner. I'm just going to grab these out of my inventory really fast here and get them in this scanner and get them scanned. So we're going to scan them. Boom. And we did. We got a convoy flight plan, a level 2 one. So I'm just going to stick that back in there. We don't have any more of those. Those are out of the way. And we can go on to the next thing. I have a couple other parts in here. These parts are collection parts. You don't need to check those. If you want to keep them, you can. If you add them all, they will give you a collection schematic that you can use to then have a shipwright craft you a collection part, which in some cases are very good. So we can drag all those collection parts out of there, and you can see that this is what they look like. They're always going to have the same image, and that's kind of what they look like there. So we're left with just this good stuff, and we're going to see if it's good or not right now. So we're going to go ahead, and the first thing we have is a weapon. It's a reverse engineering level 5. So before we go to the STC, the first thing we do is we look at that handy little keeper toss chart. Boom, it's on the screen now. A weapon, and when we meet it with the reverse engineering level 5, it is pink with an asterisk. So we have very niche part level, almost never used except for hobby projects or leveling loadouts. And because of that asterisk, we have multi-stat parts may be needed to RE these, and they will generally be significantly more valuable. So we're going to need more. What that means is we're going to need more than one good stat. Any of these other ones that don't have the asterisks is basically like you only need one good stat, and then you can RE it later with other parts to make sure you get a final product with all good stats. But just for the raw stuff, you only need one good stat for it to possibly be worth money. So it says it is possible, even nevertheless, niche. So we're going to do weapon 5, and that is going to be the code for it. But because it's so niche, it's probably only going to be worth anything if it's rare. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to up the rarity right off the bat to like a 98 percentile, just to see a little bit more rare than the common 95 percentile. So these are the stats that we get, and we're going to compare those to the one on the weapon. Now, if we look really quick, the armor, you want a big number, it's a small number. Drain, you want a small number, it's a big number. Mass, you want a small number, it's a big number. Damage, you want a big number, it's a small number on both of them. Versus shields, you want a bigger number, and it is a smaller number. Energy per shot, you'd like a smaller number, it's a big number. And refire rate, you want a small number, and it's a big number. Bigger than the number on there anyways. So that means that it is poop, and it can go into the chassis dealer bag. Dun, 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 we just checked our first part. So, gonna keep on going. We have a weapon reverse engineering level 2. Gonna come over here to our keeper toss chart and see what it says about weapons 2. Weapon 2 is red, which means we don't even need to check it. It is poop. So, poop. And we're gonna bring that keeper toss chart. I already moved it down in my backpack here. Going to the next one. Next one we have a reactor, and again it's reverse engineering level 6. So we're going to come down here, we're going to do /R for reactor, 6 for level 6, and oh wait, before we do this, let's see what that chart has to say about it. Keeper toss chart. Reactor level 6 is a light blue color. It says viable parts with any stat greater than or equal to 95% may be valuable. So that means we can check it, and we do want to take the time to do the /R6, and we could do just R6 because it said that 95 could be possible. So we're going to check this right now, and it looks like the mass we need under 9,200. It is not. We need generation of over 25,000, and it is not. So it is poop, and we can put it in the poop bag. Next part, we're going to go down the list. Again, we have an engine this time, and the engine is a reverse engineering level 2. So let's see what that chart has to say before we do anything. The engine, level 2, is red and not a viable part, so it's going into the poop bag. Dun da da da, not worth anything. Alright, and we're just going to skip over here to a capacitor, just so we can see a capacitor. This is reverse engineering level 4 capacitor, so we're going to come back over here and turn our keeper toss guide back on. And under capacitors, for a number 4, it's a light green color, and it says it's a viable part, and parts with any stat greater than or equal to 98% may be valuable. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to, this time when we go to look it up, we're going to do /C for capacitor, 4 for the reverse engineering level 4, underscore, and then we're going to do 98 because it said 98 percentile is what is necessary. And we're going to go ahead and look in there, and we have the stats for that now. The armor is lower than the one here. The drain is higher than the one here. The mass is higher than the one here. The energy is lower than the one here. And the recharge rate is lower than the one here. So it is not good enough to keep. And this is going to be the case for most of the parts that you check. And it's kind of tedious, but if you do it enough, you will literally memorize this entire STC file and the keeper toss chart. So the only thing I can say is, like, keep on going, keep going with it, you know, don't let stuff pile up in your house, and, you know, just kind of grind through until you get the hang of it. We have an armor right here. This is a reverse engineering level 8, so let's check our keeper toss chart. For armor, a level 8, it says it's light blue, viable part level. Any parts with 95 percentile or greater might be valuable. Now this is going to be one of those ones that kind of changed with that crafted update. I wouldn't consider 98% viable anymore, but just for giggles, we're going to come here to the STC file. We'll do /A8 and hit enter because the default's 95%. And it says here that the armor needs to be above 1920, and it's not, and the mass needs to be under 10K, and it is not. So we're going to go ahead and stick that one in the poop bag as well. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of take a different direction here. I got a couple of parts that I want to do. One of them is a reward part, and that's a part that you're going to get from a quest or from convoys, and it has good stats, but it's still not worth very much money, and you might get kind of surprised, but the STC file does cover you. So I got one right here, and it is a reverse engineering level 8. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to check our keeper toss. For a weapon that's a tier 8 is blue. It means we can keep it with a 95% stat. So we're going to then go ahead and check it. And because it's reverse engineering level 8 and it's a weapon, we're going to do /W for an 8. Oh, by the way, just for, you know, the moment before I do that, if it's a reverse engineering level 10, we're not going to do a 10. We're going to do just a 0. For whatever reason, it's not 10, you just put 0 right there. And that's for all different kinds of parts. So whether it's armor, it'll be A0, weapon 0, and you might hear people refer to them as that. But back to this weapon 8. For this reward part, we're going to do weapon 8. And that's the stats for 95 percentile. And if you look here, the armor is better than this, but on the side there it says reward, and it does match that. I mean, it's off by like a tenth. So it is the reward part. It's not always perfect. It's going to be pretty close most of the time. And then, you know, the drain might be different because there's not a reward stat for these, but the damage is going to have way better damage than right here. And again, you'll see that it's that reward stat damage or very close. It looks like it's 2 decimals above this time, and the max damage is 2 decimals below, and the reward for the EPS is 14. So you might see these stats and be like, oh my god, they're better than the 95th percentile. But the thing is, these parts, because you get them from quests and because you can get them from other content, they drop quite frequently and they're not usually worth anything. The Borstrals, just this weapon 8, is probably one of the very few that is worth keeping because you need them for any reverse engineering project because that EPS is going to be the best that you'll ever find. So they are worth keeping, but a lot of them won't be. So because that one's worth keeping, I'm going to throw it in my keep bag. Now, I also want to show you guys what would happen if you get a part that does have good stats. What do we do from there? Like, you know, like, dude, we're not going to throw it in the poop bag. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out a part that I know has some good stats for you guys to kind of see what the process is for when you get a part that does have good stats. we'll do this reactor. And so this reactor is a reverse engineering level 3. So the first thing we do is we come over here to our keeper toss and we check reactor 3. So reactor on a 3 is light blue, and it says anything with a 95th percentile may be valuable. So we go back here and now we can check it with the STC file. So we're going to do slash R for reactor, 3 for reverse engineering level 3, and we can hit enter, or we can even do 95%. Enter right there would have just done the default 95%, but you can specify it too. So we'll specify it, and it says that we need a hit points of above 194. It is not. We need a mass of under 2K. It is not. And then we need a reactor generation rate of above 14,000, and it is above 14,000 and by quite a good bit. So we are now going to see, well, I mean, it's 95%, but is it more rare than 95%? Because we want to kind of pinpoint how rare is it, because that'll help us determine how much it's going to be worth. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do another one. We're going to do R3, and this time, you know, we can jump up 1, we could do 96, we could jump up 2 and do 97. I'm going to go ahead and do 97 and see where it lies. And it says 15,000 this time, so we're still a good bit above that. So we can jump up another 2, R3 underscore 101 this time, or no, we'll do 99. So 99, it's still more rare than 99, so we just keep on going up. You know, how high can we go? And this one's a little bit more on point. So this one's 16.3K, and it's a little bit above that. So now we'll go down one. We really want to pinpoint it. R3 100 this time, and it is. It's right between. It's 100 percentile between 100% and 101%. It is pretty rare. So now we know we have a rare part. Now what do we do? And you know, do we sell it to the chassis dealer? No, we do not sell it to the chassis dealer. We're going to stick that on a player vendor, but we need to know how much it's worth. Or we'll keep it for ourselves for one of our own projects. So because of that, we want to right away stick it in a safe place so that we do not sell it for later. And we're just going to kind of focus on that one right there. So we'll focus on him. And we have a Bazaar terminal. And this is where we're going to check, because this is your best friend for checking stuff. And we are going to check what it is worth. So first thing you do, and again, this is really only for Legends, guys. So if you're on a different server, you know, you're going to see a different Bazaar terminal. You're going to have different, you know, probably different rarities for parts, because some parts might drop and some parts might not. Even your rewards parts might be different. So again, only for Legends. But all auctions, you go to vendor location, entire galaxy. Ship component, because it is a ship component. We come down here to reactor, we select reactor, and now we're going to select the item filter. And because it is a reactor with a reverse engineering level of 3, we're going to come down here to reverse engineering level. You also have this one called reverse engineered. That means it's already been put together with other parts, and it is no longer what we consider as raw. Now it's considered reverse engineered, and it is not. It still has the level. So we come here to raw, we check this box because it must have this attribute, and we put in the level, which is 3 on the min and the max value. Add. Now it's right there. Now if we hit refresh, everything we are looking at will be level 3. And you can kind of see that if I do details, reverse engineering level is now 3. Everything in here will have a 3 as its reverse engineering level. Now at the same time, that's not enough. You see we still have way too much stuff and we don't know what's rare and what's not. So we want to kind of pinpoint this generation level. And to do that, I like to give it like an upper bounds and a lower bounds. So we come back to the filter, we go to that exact attribute, reactor generation rate. And we select it, and for the min value, we can use that 100 percentile for from the STC file as a good bottom gate. So as the minimum value looks like 1598, and then we'll come back up to where it's at 101%, and we'll see the maximum gate, and the maximum gate that we're going to use here is 16378. Oh, one extra one on there. Alright, so now we have a decent little, you know, upper and lower bounds here. We're going to check it out and see if there's anything in that range. There is nothing in that range. Okay, so this is where you think, okay, well, did I do something wrong? It's either you did something wrong, or it's a really, really rare part that it's probably going to be worth a lot of money. And at this point, if you didn't mess up, you want to go and get multiple opinions on how much money it is worth. And in this case, I did not mess up, and that is a very rare part, and it's going to be worth a good amount of money. But let's, for the sake of finding something as a result, let's go back and let's do the 95th per, or let's do like a 90, a 95 per, a 90, let's do a 96 to 97th percentile, just so that we have some results pop up. So R3 underscore 96 and an R3 underscore 97, and that'll give us a lower bounds and an upper bounds that should hopefully have some stuff in it. So the upper or the lower bounds was going to be 14,726, and the upper bounds is going to be 15,110. And if we update that, we should get some results. Yeah, so we got a couple of results. That's still pretty rare. And you can see now we have a couple of results here. This one's 14.7 gen. This one's 14.9. You can see their price there. If you want, you can lower the bounds even more. So if it's a 7, we could lower it down to like a 2, and if it's 5.1, we could up it down to like a 7, and really get like a bigger picture here. And we do get a lot more when we do that. So you can see that something that low could go for 700K, something that high could go for 25, and some of the higher ones that we had, even if we did this, you can see that there's just nothing there for the one that we had looked up. Which again is when you're going to want to go ask some real people, some of your buddies, a public Discord. The SWG Legends Discord is a great place. There's a channel called Pilots Club. You take a screenshot of that, post it in there, and ask them, or even just write down the stats if you can't screenshot very good. Though to screenshot, you would do the Shift button, the Windows button, and the S key, and you'll be able to then draw a box over, like start at one corner, go to the other corner, and while holding down the mouse button, and it'll take a screenshot of just that area. And then you can ask some people. But you see that there are search results, so we probably didn't do anything wrong, and that's just a rare part because there's nothing else anywhere near it for sale on the Bazaar. Another thing when you do have a part that shows up, so let's kind of just say, for instance, I have a part that has 14,500 gen. Okay, we'll write that down right there. We can look up that part. It falls into 96 probably. 14, yeah, it falls into the 96 zone. So we actually had a good bracket the first time, and it was going to be 726 and 15,110. Oh wait, it doesn't fall into that bracket. That's actually a little bit too good. So we'll do the 95th percentile. So R3, so 14.33, and then the upper bracket was 14.7, and we'll just make that flat. And so we got a whole bunch in here, and again we were looking for 14,500 was the number we wanted to specify, so we can come in here and we can start to see, like, does anybody get close? That's 14.1, 14.2, 14, keep on going up until we find one that hits 14,500. Oh, here's one. Alright, so the cheapest one so far in the scale right here is 1.3 million. Now we also want to see, is that a good price? So you can hit the details, you can see how long it's been on for. As soon as you put it on, it'll have 46 days left. So that means this one's been up for a really long time and no one has bought in it. So that might actually be too high of a price, and you might want to go down a little bit lower if you want to sell it and want to sell it fast. R3s are a bit of a niche part, mostly used for like PvP. So it might not sell fast even if it's a good part, and that's another thing to keep in mind. But that's it. That's how you look up parts using the Bazaar. And then you'd find a price that you think is fair. Maybe for this one, do a mil instead of 1.3 mil. Put it on your vendor and hope that it sells. And or if you want to keep it and use it in a project. You can do kind of the same thing to find parts you're looking for with certain stats. So if you wanted a reactor with 14,500, you could do the exact same thing that we just did there, and you can find that part with 1400 by doing it that way as well. That's about it. That's how you can check your loot and see if it's worth keeping and see if it's worth selling to the chassis dealer. So that's all. I hope you guys had fun. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments or send me a DM. Peace.